So Charlie, can you tell us about your vegan community? I believe you want to start one very soon in France. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Well, I have a great sense of urgency about getting a vegan community together, mainly because at this time veganism is becoming more and more popular, and the situation with the planet is extremely urgent. I think that 99% of people have no idea what an urgent situation we're in and why we need to change, particularly our diet. It's been 15 consecutive months now, the hottest months on record. So it's true to say that the planet is in serious danger. But it can be solved. It's all caused by what we eat. 51% of the damage to the planet Earth is through livestock farming, most particularly beef and dairy. Most vegans know all that, but the situation that we've got is we've got thousands of very committed, enthusiastic vegans living separately, paying rent, having mortgages, wasting their time earning money to live in the normal world because there's no alternative. So we need to get some land together so that we can heal the land and we can live together and help each other rather than being isolated in some little flat in London or, you know, some piece of land in the countryside in the Welsh mountains or something, you know, feeling like we're a voice in the wilderness because nobody else understands. My experience is that only other vegans really understand vegans. It's like a separate language almost. And, you know, other people need to have a very high level of compassion in order to bring about the new world. And if we waste our time trying to convince people who've got no idea what we're talking about, it's far more sensible to be amongst people who talk our language and they're evolved enough, their consciousness has expanded enough to be able to get together and do the job together and help each other and not be lonely and isolated in the world, basically. So that's why it's important to me and lots of other people to have a vegan community, in this case specifically in France. That's a whole other story which I can explain on another video. But
So how does being a meditator help? Is this how we raise our consciousness? How would that help in your community? Is that important for you?
yeah, it is, because when you put people together in a community, it's very important that they don't waste all their time ego clashing and personality clashing. And you can spend years in meetings talking about whatever you like, veganism, animal rights, with angry people who may be vegan, but if you put them together, you're really not doing them any favors. They'll just end up tearing each other's heads off. Vegans generally are much kinder people and probably a little bit more tolerant, but very few people have the experience of living in community, and it's a bit like being married, you know. Although I favor a community where people have plenty of independence and privacy, but still they're on the land together and they may have a communal big building that they can cook in or meet in and so on. But if they have their own spaces, it's very much more sensible. So if people meditate, then you have some chance that they're not going to, they will understand and listen to each other. And they'll be much more harmonious and loving towards each other as well. It's an unfortunate fact, but people who don't meditate, their brains work completely differently than people who do meditate. People who don't meditate tend to argue about things like politics. People who meditate will listen to each other and say, well, that sounds like bullshit, but I'm willing to go along with it because I love this person and I want them to be happy, you know. And anyway, if the main philosophy is veganism, you just got to focus on that. That's looking after the planet, looking after the animals, looking after your health, so you don't end up with a lot of old people crippled in all sorts of ways because of their ridiculous diet that they've been having all their life. So healthy people, and collectively we can be an example that this is the way to go in the future. Not little houses with all your life spending, you know, on a mortgage or something. You know, we haven't got time for that. You know, how much time do we have left? 10 years, 20 years? We've got to realise we're in a very urgent situation now. We need to do it now. So that's why I particularly chose France, because there's 500 million people in the European Union. Land is very cheap. You can get amazing chateaus for the price of a flat in London. So people can join up with very little money, maybe £10,000, £20,000. And if someone wants a home of their own and they can't get hold of £10,000, then there's something wrong. So, you know, you spend that much on rent every year.
So how would it operate? Would it be on a shareholders business part? How would you buy a share in a cooperative, or how will it operate for people who become members?
Well, the best way is for a company to own the land and all the property, and then individuals own shares in that company. And to give people peace of mind that they're not getting into something that they might want to get out of and then they lose their money, I would have a contract whereby within the space of 2 years or after 2 years, anyone can pull out and the company buys their share back off them. So they can have a guarantee of getting their money back if they find it's driving them mad living in a community, or they don't want to live with these bloody vegans anymore, you know, whatever. You have to have a way out, because, you know, it might be people's life savings or what they inherited from their granny or something, you know, and they don't want to think that they're putting it into a hole and then a bunch of mad people are going to drive them mad and they want their money back. You know?
Well, circumstances can change and someone may need to move, so that's perfectly feasible, isn't it, of course?
Yeah. It's always good to allow for the gypsy in people. People like to move around the world, and if they get fed up with living in a beautiful chateau in France, okay, you know, they might want to go and buy a share. And there's another fantastic place happening in Portugal, the Vigoa project, I think it's called. You can look that up on the web, and that's more or less intense. It's just starting, and I want something with a lot of immediate accommodation where people can be really comfortable. You know, I'm 66 years old now, and I don't really want to hang out in a tent or on a sleeping bag, you know, too much.
So you're looking at buying a chateau which would have beautiful turrets and a massive hall and beautiful community space to share, and to do some music and to have meals together. I mean, it could be wonderful in a chateau. This is what you have in mind, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, those places were built as magic places. They were sort of fantasy places, and they were built as communities. It just so happens that somebody was the lord or the baron or something like that, or the princess, you know, and we can all be princes and princesses in our chateau, and, you know, we don't have to destroy anyone's freedom to do that. We can just share it, and it's a lovely way to live. Those buildings were beautifully designed mostly, and they're perfect for communities. But if you get one with, say, 50 acres or quite a bit of land, then if you feel like it, you can just go and build a little yurt or a bamboo hut in the forest and not see anybody for a few weeks if you want. So it needs to be somewhere where people can be as communal as they like, and also as separate as they like, to get on with their own process of enlightenment or whatever it is, you know.
Do you plan to grow your own food and have some produce happening?
Yeah, I think it would. It's really, really good to have your own organic food growing in the immediate environment. I wouldn't say that it's a priority to be self-sufficient, because it's very complicated. That may come in time, but It's good for everyone to be financially independent, so if they want to go and get a job in a nearby city, it's useful to have some land which is not too far from somewhere where people can work. So the community will not be looking after everybody. They'll be looking after themselves. If they run out of money, they'll have to go back to London or New York or wherever they come from and make some more money, because there won't be any money in the pot. But there will be plenty of space for businesses and people to make money actually living on the community, therapists, running courses, whatever. There's a million ways of making enough money to live on, and if you don't have any rent or mortgage, you don't need much money, £50 a week or something.
So how can people get in touch with you, Charlie? Do you have a website?
Yeah. There's a website, www.vegancommunities.com, and also you can join the Vegan Chateau Healing and Meditation group on Facebook. Or if you want to get in touch with me, it's abundance, vegan, all one word, at yahoo.co.nz for New Zealand. I'd be very happy to hear from you.